You could surely give me a little bit more pep than that. I'm just going to need this little bit of enthusiasm from you, so please, good afternoon, RubyNation! Excellent. My name is Andrew, and I'm here today to present to you the game of Just a Minute. Now, this isn't your typical conference panel, so you don't have to sit quietly and listen respectfully. You are allowed to respond. And so that means clap if you want to clap, cheer if you want to cheer, cry if you want to cry, and respond however you see fit to any underhanded tactics that emerge during the game. Now, we'll explain things properly, but there's a set method of starting the show, which is I'll boisterously welcome you to the event, and then I'll play in the theme music, Chopin's Minute Waltz. As soon as you hear that piano music, I need you all to raise your voices and raise this rather lovely roof. Think you can do that for me? Yeah! Adam can. Here we go. Welcome to Just a Minute. Use more volume on the laptop. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to a very special edition of Just a Ruby Minute here in the fine city of Arlington, Pennsylvania. Famous, of course, for its massive... Pennsylvania. Virginia. This is the session we are having, of course, famous for its massive military cemetery, and I'm sure that bodes very well for today's panel. Here's how the game is played. In each round, I will choose a topic that's of some interest to the Ruby community, and one of the witty, insightful, and of course terrified individuals currently arrayed before you all. They'll then be challenged to speak about that topic for up to 60 seconds without hesitation, including pauses or hedging noises, repetition of words other than the topic that they've used during the show, during the current round, or deviation when they're simply no longer talking about the topics they've been given. Now, if the other panellists discover these rules being broken, they can challenge by pressing their buzzers. The timer will stop, and I'll get what their challenge is. Correct challenges will gain a point, but will also gain control of the topic. So they'll have to continue with the same timer and the same topic until the minute's over, or they are in turn challenged for one of those three reasons. Incorrect challenges give away a point to the initial speaker, and whoever's speaking at the end of a minute gains a point for that as well. That's the rules, all very simple. Do bear with me, they completely work out. And so let's move on to meeting the panel. First up, on your far right, I've got a developer and team leader at HashiCorp, and maintainer of Turbulence and Rails ERD. Please welcome Kerry Miller. On your near right, we've got an engineer at DigitalOcean, member of the RSpec core team, and a true Ruby Jam veteran returning for his 5th Just a Minute panel. Please welcome Sam Phippen. My immediate right, we have got COO at Coding Zeal, and returning for his 2nd Ruby Jam panel after a blistering yet losing performance in New York. Please welcome Adam Cuppy. And last but by no means least, local boy, DevOps leader at Excelico and director of the Loudon Computer Science Institute. Please welcome David Bock. And so without any further ado, let's move on to round one. Sam, as our most returning panellist, you've got the first topic of planning a project. So this is Sam Phippen, 60 seconds on planning a project, starting now.
Planning a project is an activity that many software engineers have to participate in throughout their lives. Planning a project is the act of finding a project and planning it in order to ensure that the project is going to be successful once the planning has been successfully completed. The thing about planning a project is that it can often...
Repetition of that?
There's a few that's.
Then clearly it is!
Yes, that is a correct challenge. Already, I would have also, I would have taken hesitation as well. I was losing steam at a rapid pace. Okay, Kerry, you have 34 seconds remaining on planning a project, starting now.
Planning a project is something that needs to be planned for. It is not sufficient to merely engage in the activity. You must continually evaluate, move forwards, progress without hesitation or stuttering or repetition in order to achieve your goals. Engaging with shareholders, stakeholders, people of interest, people who want to...
Repetition of people.
Yeah.
Lots of people. So Sam, you've gained a point, and you have 2.8 seconds remaining to reprise the subject. Of course, you cannot use words that you used earlier on during this round. So you have 2.8 seconds starting now.
To quickly summarize, planning a project is...
So that's a point for Sam Fiftham speaking at the end of that first minute. And Adam, you're up next. And a bit of a curveball for you. You have virtual reality. So Adam Cuppy on virtual reality, starting now.
The thought that virtual reality can take over the planet is a really good thing for us to consider. If we use the current situation of what is on the screen as an example, we can read the Just a Ruby Minute dialogue and think to ourselves,
extremely obviously deviation.
I was distracted.
I will take full blame for that. I think possibly I lost the vision connection for a second there. I've reconstructed the scores. How do we want to do this?
I got a point.
He got...
I mean, you worked through some quite severe technical issues.
Right, exactly.
Mulligan.
Is that worth a bonus point, do we reckon?
No.
We do! Yeah,
Yeah,
bonus point.
I'm going to give you the point for just sheer guts there.
Jimmy.
And so, yeah, I'm really nervous about my software now. I'm just going to go back. So yeah, Adam, you have 60 seconds. I'm good. Yeah, redo of this round starting now.
Hesitation.
Correct. So Sam, you have 59 seconds. And a second to compose yourself.
All right, let's do this.
59 seconds starting now.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about virtual reality is how recently it's had this amazing resurgence. So in the 90s, there was a computer science textbook that I had which talked about VRML, a XML framework for making virtual reality happen. And now, like, at the time, I had no idea what that even meant.
Repetition of I.
Yeah, there was a lot of eyes there. There was also an awful lot of hesitation. It's almost as if the rest of the panel don't want this topic.
I don't.
You own it now, Adam.
Okay.
Okay, so Adam Cup, you have 33 seconds starting now.
When I think about virtual reality in the
Hesitation?
Okay.
That was a distortion of language we do read as hesitation. So Sam, you have 30 seconds remaining starting now.
One thing that I think we've all discovered together in this room is that the subject of virtual reality is rather difficult to talk about in just a minute. Continuing with what I was saying earlier, the emergence of new virtual reality headsets like the Oculus, the Rift, the Sony one.
Repetition of the?
Yes.
Not 14.
There was 3 Ds in quick succession. I'm also not sure that Oculus and Rift are 2 separate devices.
So we can fact check too.
Yeah.
That could have been a deviation challenge. So Adam, you have 11 seconds left. Starting now.
Virtual reality for me breaks down to 3 key components. The first being eyesight, the second being aural, the third being
Repetition of being.
Being absolutely correct, Sam. You have the second and the fifth. Starting now.
Virtual reality.
Oh, strong start from Sam Fitton, currently twice the nearest lead. And Dave, so yeah, enthusiasm. He's worked hard for that.
Go on.
Shall we proceed? Dave, you have the next topic. One I think you'll probably be able to say something about. Where to learn about computers. This is David Bock, 60 seconds starting now.
There are many different ways to learn about computers and computer programming. It really depends on your age how you want to begin. For instance, if you're in elementary school, you might start with something like code.org. and the hour of code during Computer Science Education Week.
Repetition of code.
Repetition of code.
Proper name.
Yeah, code.org, proper name.
Proper name.
Oh.
Now, I'm not going to take the proper name thing because that's just not in the rules, but you have raised an interesting question of whether code.org is one word or three.
Words are spoken.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to go by the side. We can't see it written down. I think I have to give Sam the point.
It usually only takes about 4 rounds to start booing, so that's fine.
We're getting there pretty quickly today. So you have 44 seconds starting now.
One thing that's interesting about where to learn about computers is that there are so many different places one can go. When we think about the where in where to learn about computers,
Repetition of where.
Where is part of the topic sentence? Not a popular challenge, but correct. Or rather incorrect. So yes, Sam, you have 32 seconds remaining, starting now.
the where could be a school, the where might perhaps also, someone please stop me.
You could have let up the hesitation somewhat sooner.
Sorry. I thought he was rubbing it to me by using where over and over again.
He was, but then he hesitated. So yeah, Adam.
To learn about computers. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take that as hesitation challenge.
Yeah, that was definitely a hesitation challenge.
So you have 26 seconds starting now.
To begin where to learn about computers, you might look at your local meetup groups and ask other developers in your area where to learn about computers. Similarly, you could go to the local universities, colleges.
Repetition of local.
Local.
Oh, local meetups.
Yeah,
Local meetup groups and local colleges.
Yeah, that's correct. Sam, you have 10 seconds left starting now.
Where to learn about computers? What a question. Oh.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to follow the rules here and give Sam a point. So yeah, you've 6 seconds left. You're handing your points. So yeah, starting now.
Where to learn about computers? The subject that we are currently discussing.
You've gained a point for the end of that round. Round of applause, please. If I ask politely, it's going to work. So Kerry, you're up next to start. We've got a tricky subject. Your subject is metaprogramming. Very rude. So Kerry, you have 60 seconds starting now.
Metaprogramming as a subject is one that I am intimately familiar with and very comfortable with.
Repetition of with.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
All right.
Yeah, the rest of you need to bring Sam down.
Working on it.
Okay, so you have 54 seconds starting now.
Metaprogramming is something that we in RSpec do all over the place. In order to make the test framework function correctly, we basically have to metaprogram every single component of your system, including the tests that are generated, mock objects, stub class instances.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, of course.
Thank you.
No, you were right. The rest of them were just too quiet. So you have 33 seconds starting now.
What I really dislike about metaprogramming is that it exists at all. Simply because...
Kerry.
Hesitation?
Hesitation, yes, there was an
Thank God. Here, you can use
We
mine.
did test it earlier. So Kerry.
Crashed.
It's true. Kerry, you have 26 seconds starting now.
Metaprogramming allows us to examine the internals of our software and modify them as we go. There is literally nothing that we cannot do with metaprogramming as a technique or
Hesitation?
Hesitation, yes. There's a little bit of laughter leading to hesitation there. So, Adam, you have 11 seconds remaining, starting now.
As a source of good metaprogramming, I like to look at the RSpec core. really, if I take an examination of the very first file that comes to mind.
Excellent, yeah. That was a great example of just playing for time for the last few seconds. And Sam, you're up next. Your topic, an interesting one. Games developers play. So this is Sam Flippin on Games Developers Play, starting now.
The thing about games developers play is that I'm not sure it forms a wholly coherent, grammatically correct sentence. And thus it...
That's got to be a deviation. We're talking about games, we're talking about the
You're
subject.
talking about
You were, yeah.
talking about the title sentence itself.
Who thinks that was deviation? I respond so much better if I hear you. Correct, Kerry, you have a point. You have
I got a point.
52 seconds on Games Developers Play, starting now.
For example, this is a game that developers play. By frequently interacting with other people, other developers...
Hesitation.
Oh, I thought you were judging me on other.
No, you just stopped for like a second and a half.
That was a hesitation. Yeah, other would have been fine. Repeating developers would not have been a valid challenge. Since I have 43 seconds, starting now.
The games developers play on...
Yes!
Hesitation?
Yes! Definitely hesitation. Oh, Kerry, you've gained a point. You've gained 39 seconds remaining.
Is hazing on the panel allowed?
Possibly.
is games developers play.
Yes. So, Kerry, you have 39 seconds starting now.
One game that I play in particular is poker, where keeping a poker face is...
Repetition of poker.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. So, Sam, you have 32 seconds remaining, starting now.
Games developers play is the...
Can we just test Dave's buzzer?
Yes.
I'm just going to literally start. Just press press. It does work.
That was a unit test that proved I'm lame.
So you have the challenge, hesitation. Correct, and you have 28 seconds remaining, starting now.
Of all the games developers play that I can think of, I start to look.
Oh, that was a mistake, I'm sorry.
So yeah, that's an incorrect
sorry.
challenge. Also potentially hazy, but you give him a point, so not all that effective. So Adam, you have got 22 seconds, starting now.
I think of the games developers play as a look inside the organization, specifically with the people on our teams, such as Jim or Matt on my team, in which we...
Repetition of team.
Team and teams. So you accidentally laid the classic just a minute trap of using singular and plural words.
Yes, I did.
So that was an incorrect challenge.
Yeah, apparently.
Adam, you have 9 seconds left, starting now.
Of all the realities that games developers play exist inside of our organizations, dang it.
Repetition of organization.
Organizations, correct. So, Sam, you have a second and a bit, starting now.
Games develop...
So, Sam, yeah, you've in a thorough lead at the moment. However, Adam's next up, and I've given you all the really hard topics. How to write a regular Now, we have a rule that shortened forms.
Regular expression?
Yeah, shortened forms are acceptable repetition, so regex or regex, however you choose to pronounce that also.
Okay.
You are allowed to repeat. So that'll make all the
But,
difference. So, Adam, you have,
code.org was a problem? Ref, come on!
you have 60 seconds starting now.
When I look at writing a regular expression on how to determine the difference between regex or regular expressions and this line, how to write a regular expression, I like to start with backslashes and end at the very last.
Hesitation! Excellent. So, and yet you get to take over the topic. So,
43 seconds.
Dave, you have 43 seconds starting now.
When I start to write a regular expression, I normally start by opening the newspaper.
Repetition of start.
Repetition of start, Kerry.
This would never happen on BBC Radio.
No, Radio 4 just doesn't have this.
Luckily, I have a voice made for television.
Funny thing, I've got a face for radio. So, Kerry, you have 39 seconds.
Great joke about cartoon characters swearing.
Starting now.
Regular expressions are often a topic of difficulty, especially for new developers.
Hesitation.
Yes.
Hesitation, Adam, absolutely. As you have 30 seconds remaining, you got the topic back, starting now.
Of all the regular expressions I cannot stand to write, and specifically on how to write a regular expression, you should look at JavaScript and not the rest of the languages available to you.
Hesitation?
Hesitation.
This is the worst topic ever.
And deviation.
Yeah, definitely that. I would
Somewhat moved away. So, you have 16 seconds, starting now.
How to write a regular expression. A quick guide. First, you imagine 300 nested finite state machines, which are the actual underlying technology used by regular expressions to write a regular expression in all.
Sam Fitman speaking at the end of that minute. And David, you're next up to start. You have a topic which would be better suited for literally any of the other panelists. Visiting Washington, D.C. So David, you have 60 seconds starting now.
As a local, I've had to visit Washington, D.C. quite a bit with friends and relatives as they come to the area. I normally don't think of myself as a tourist, but as a local, we rarely go and actually see all of the monuments in Washington, D.C. It's often like seeing the city for the first time when we go. My relatives prefer to...
Repetition of relatives.
Friends and relatives right at the start, although that was 25 seconds, probably the longest one we've had so far. Nice job. Does get the point. 35 seconds, starting now.
This is my third time visiting Washington, D.C. The first time I was...
Time.
Repetition of time. Correct, Kerry.
Absolutely.
So you have 28 seconds, starting now.
I have visited Washington, D.C. many times. Firstly, with a school trip. Later on, with family. I worked for a...
Hesitation.
Hesitation.
Yes.
David Bock gets the point. And 17 seconds. Have control of the subject, starting now.
I most recently visited Washington, D.C. with my own children. We had an incident on the playground that made us decide to visit the Holocaust Museum.
Repetition of visit.
Did you visit before? I think it was visiting before, so I'm going to call that an incorrect challenge and give David the point. And there's 8 seconds remaining. I want to hear the end of the story.
There you go, that's my strategy.
8 seconds, starting now.
So my sons at the Holocaust Museum had to visit the Gallery of Shoes. Can I get an extra point for calling myself out for the Holocaust Museum?
Yeah, nobody did pick you up on that. However, you were speaking at the end of that minute, getting a point for doing so. Just creeping up towards the next lead, Kerry. And Sam's still some distance ahead. And Kerry, you're next up to speak on speaking at a Ruby conference. So you have 60 seconds on that topic, starting now.
I literally know nothing about speaking at a Ruby conference. I know how to clear my throat, which is very much like this.
Hesitation, clearing her throat.
I don't think there was any hesitation. You pretty fluently cleared your throat. I didn't hear a hesitation there. So, Kerry, you're getting the point for an incorrect challenge. See how far this lasts. So 52 seconds starting now.
Very often, speaking at a Ruby conference, you do it for 20 minutes, half an hour.
Hesitation.
Hesitation.
Dramatic pause, yo.
Oh, Dave, you have the point. You have 45 seconds on speaking at a Ruby conference starting now.
Speaking at a Ruby conference is not as easy as it looks, but actually every one of you could be up here on this stage doing this today. Speaking at a Ruby conference is really just a matter of speaking to your own personal experience. As long as you are speaking about your own abilities and life events, you can speak as an authority.
Hesitation.
That was hesitation. Stunning run, though. Yeah, Karen, you have the point. You have 19 seconds starting now.
Like David, I often encourage students and people that I am mentoring to speak at Ruby conferences, as speaking at Ruby conferences, or
Repetition of conferences.
Repetition of conferences! Dave, you have the point. You have 8 seconds remaining starting now.
When speaking at a Ruby conference, you often want to start by picking out a good subject. Once you have your subject,
Repetition of you.
You often start by picking your subject.
oh my god.
it's after the buzzer, though.
After the buzzer.
It's close.
The subject was after the buzzer. The your and you were both before, so I think it's the incorrect challenge.
It is an incorrect challenge. You preempted the new question there. So David, you have a point. And 0.2 seconds remaining. Starting now.
Speak.
I'm climbing into 3rd place. I think we're probably coming up to the point of the last round. So Sam, you are our final starter, and your topic, spaghetti code. Something I'm sure you know nothing about. So Sam, you have 60 seconds starting now.
About 18 months ago, I joined DigitalOcean to work on a Rails app that has existed for the entire duration of the company. The term spaghetti code doesn't even begin to describe the code I've been having to deal with. We've got active record callbacks, nested logic that makes almost no sense. For some reason, we monkey patched the ORM inside Rails.
Rails repetition?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay. If you just stayed quiet, I couldn't remember it. Yeah, you were honest. I can give you that. Okay, so Kerry, you have.
Virtual point, Ron.
Yeah. So Kerry, you have 35 seconds on spaghetti code starting now.
Spaghetti code, the fixing thereof, takes longer than 35 seconds. In fact, approaching it,
Hesitation.
Hesitation. So Dave, you have 26 seconds on spaghetti code starting now.
As the only person on this stage, I'm confident in saying that
Hesitation.
Yes, hesitation.
I realize I started with the wrong part of that.
Also, you're not the only person.
I was going to say the only person on stage that is a go-to in production, so
Yes.
maybe I'm qualified to speak at
I would have accepted deviation there. However, Sam, you have 20 seconds remaining. And 20 seconds starting now.
One could imagine a world in which spaghetti code was a Dan Brown book, like the Da Vinci Code, on how we go through conspiracy theories in order to find ancient... Really? You're going to let me keep talking about this without deviation?
Hesitation and deviation, I have to say that. I was quite entertained by it.
I wanted to see where you were going. I'm sorry, I believe in you.
We should have a lengthy conversation on the spaghetti code conspiracy a little later on. Hysterics on the panel. Okay, so Adam, you've gained a point. You've got 6 seconds remaining, starting now.
When I look at the spaghetti code in my past programming challenges, I notice that
time.
Okay. Turns out this is the last round. And so, Adam, you have a good topic, actually. My biggest mistake as a developer. This is Adam Company on my biggest mistake as a developer, starting now.
As a young programmer, I realized that my biggest mistake as a developer was my hubris and ego going into writing the code itself. When I felt that my #1 job or role was to be the
Hesitation, job is not a word.
Job.
and you call it
I'm afraid I have to give you that was definitely
either as
hesitation.
color, advertisement, or just
It's called, the language is called English for a reason.
I feel like I'm suddenly on one side, it's like me and you on one side of the room, and then everyone else.
no.
So Sam, you have 44 seconds. My biggest mistake as a developer, starting now.
My biggest mistake as a developer was just calling it the English language, because I'm here on an...
Diverting or whatever.
Deviation, I think. I don't know, kind of felt like a mistake. Everything was that deviation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was!
There you go, and you've gained a point. You have 38 seconds remaining, starting now.
My biggest mistake as a developer, like I was saying, goes back to my early days as...
Oh, mine's in the title.
Oh, mine is it?
Thank God. Okay.
That was a repetition challenge, and an incorrect one, so Adam, you have 31 seconds. He's taking this seriously.
I got 6 points to make up.
Starting now.
I know,
Hesitation, absolutely. So Kerry, you have 30 seconds. Oh, my biggest mistake as a developer, starting now.
Deviation.
So I'm going to give Kerry a point for an incorrect challenge.
Oh.
And 29 seconds, starting now.
My biggest mistake as a developer was clearly accepting a position on this panel.
Hesitation.
Curse you, dramatic pauses.
It's not the first time I've heard that during a show.
Great.
So Sam, you have 22 seconds, starting now.
My biggest mistake as a developer was over-provisioning some database credentials and using them in a development environment where I had accidentally pointed the system at the production store and then ran bundle exec rake db drop. As you can imagine, the result was pretty terrible.
Know nothing of this.
That is, I am afraid, all we have time for. As ever, I have to customarily thank EMS who created this game all those years ago, and Nicholas Parsons, who's been hosting it for in the real world ever since. So please do join me in thanking our panel for one last time. David Bock!